Sutton was guarding her. Shug Sutton was guarding her, and she just... It was literally like... I joked about it, and it's like... the LeBron meme when he sees Kawhi Leonard come back on, he's like, damn. That was Paige Beckers when she saw Lexi Hull come back on. Because Paige Beckers, anytime she saw Shug Sutton on the floor, it was, I'm getting mine. I'm going in, I'm cooking. And she fucking cooked Shug Sutton. Lexi Hull steps foot on the floor. Paige Beckers, at one stage, Paige had 5 assists to 4 turnovers. And in the end, she had 4 assists to no turnovers to end the game. Mostly because she decided to, when Shug Sutton was on the floor,
she attacked aggressively, created scoring opportunities, and executed her offensive game with confidence. The contrast resembled a famous moment involving LeBron James reacting negatively to seeing Kawhi Leonard check back into a game. That's exactly how Buchers appeared whenever Lexi Hull returned to the court. The statistical shift tells the story clearly. At one point during the contest, Buchers had accumulated 5 assists against 4 turnovers. By the final buzzer, those numbers had shifted to 4 assists with 0 turnovers, primarily because she became far more cautious when Hull defended her. Against Sutton, opportunities flowed freely. Against Hull, everything changed.
Decided to, when Shug Sutton was on the floor, it was easy. And it was the way Lexi Hull guarded. It's not like Lexi Hull was staying... It's not like Paige the quickest player in the world. So, Paige is the type of player Lexi Hull can absolutely guard. Lexi Hull struggles guarding, for example, the Ryan Howards of the world. I'm trying to think. She's someone bigger than her, obviously. The quick point guards. Paige isn't that. Paige is going to beat you crafty-wise. And using screens, she's going to manipulate the defense. I thought Paige's passing has been very, very good and unrivaled.
Hull's defensive prowess isn't about elite speed or overwhelming athleticism. Buchers doesn't rely on blazing quickness either, making this a matchup where Hull's particular skill set excels. Hull struggles more against physically imposing players like Ryan Howard or exceptionally quick point guards. Buchers operates differently, using craft, screening actions, and defensive manipulation rather than raw speed. Buchers' passing has flourished in Unrivaled's format with increased spacing, allowing her to take calculated risks. However, when facing Hull's pressure, she encountered constant blitzes and double teams. More impressively, Hull consistently recovered after these defensive traps, then somehow generated steals in the chaos.
I thought Paige's passing has been very, very good and unrivaled. With the extra space she's making, and she's taking some more risks, but like, she was getting blitzed on double teams, and Lexi was recovering past the blitz. She was getting blitzed, Lexi was recovering, and then after Lexi was recovering, she would then go and she'd then somehow get the steals. There were times that the ball inbound to Paige, she just turned around and Lexi's just there and tips the ball away. Like, there's a couple of those turnovers where it was like, where they happened, but they didn't deem, they gave him
multiple possessions featured Hull tipping away inbound passes intended for Buchers immediately upon receiving them. Several turnovers occurred that were credited as offensive rebounds for Hull rather than steals, though at least one arguably should have been recorded differently. Ultimately, box score technicalities matter less than actual impact. Hull also delivered the most crucial basket of the game, sinking a critical shot to set up the eventual game winner. Her three-point shooting was terrible throughout most of the contest before connecting on that pivotal make. Hull demonstrated everything coaches want from a player: relentless effort, defensive intensity, and clutch execution. This performance encapsulates Hull's unique position as a player.
Where they happened, but they didn't deem, they gave him as an offensive rebound for Lexi Hull. I think it was 2 offensive rebounds Lexi Hull got that were both like, well, one of her offensive rebounds anyway, I thought almost should have been a steal and a turnover, but it doesn't really matter. Fuck the box score. At the end of the day, the box score doesn't matter. She also hit the biggest shot of the game. She was horrendous from 3. Absolutely horrific from 3, and then hit the biggest shot of the game to put them on a game winner. Like, Lexi Hull did everything you wanted a player to do. Just, can we get some offense? And this is the annoying thing about it.
She's simultaneously irreplaceable and difficult to value properly. There's legitimate concern that another organization might offer her a maximum contract, which could prove problematic. Hull's defensive contributions make her incredibly valuable in specific situations, while her offensive limitations create challenges in others. Buchers experienced firsthand what many players face against Hull. The Indiana Fever defender may not be an elite one-on-one stopper in every scenario, but she forces opponents to question every decision. Every pass becomes uncertain.
Can we get some offense? And this is the annoying thing about Lexi, is that you watch Lexi Hull and she shows you why she is pretty much irreplaceable. But she also shows you why there are times where you can't offer her a max contract. And I have this scary feeling a team's going to be dumb as fuck and offer her a max contract. Like this is welcome to Hull Island Paige Beckers. Like that is just one of those things where I'm like, we all talk about the players that Lexi Hull just has in hell. And like Lexi Hull, I don't think
Every screen carries risk. Like Jose Alvarado's defensive harassment, Hull creates constant doubt. Players hesitate before turning around because she might be positioned to disrupt the play. Her nose for offensive rebounds is remarkable. Any momentary lapse in attention results in Hull securing possession. All the hustle plays, all the winning details. Hull executes them relentlessly. In a 3-on-3 format, few players have appeared as overwhelmed as Buchers did with Hull defending her.
Just has in hell. And like Lexi Hull, I don't think Lexi Hull necessarily is, again, she's this unbelievable stopper. But like she literally makes players second guess every pass they throw, second guess every screen they come off, second guess when the Alvarado shit where she just second guesses, they have second guess turning around because she might just be there to tip the ball away. If you switch off for a split second, she's got an offensive rebound. It is all the hustle plays. And in fairness, I haven't seen.
Credit also belongs to Gray, Shakira Austin, Azura Stevens, and other Rose contributors. However, questions about why Hull deserves starting minutes or why coach Nola Henry doesn't utilize double big lineups were answered definitively. This performance showcased exactly why Henry trusts Hull in crucial moments. Evaluating Hull remains complicated. She excels at basketball's fundamental winning plays that don't always show up in traditional statistics. These intangible contributions are genuinely irreplaceable.
I haven't seen a player look as much in hell in a 3-on-3 setting as Paige did with Lexi on her. And also, fair play to Chelsea Gray, Shakira Austin, Azare, whoever else was on the floor with her. But like, we saw, a lot of people were like, oh, there's no reason she should be starting and instead of going double bigs. You saw why Nola Henry plays her. Like today, you saw why Nola Henry plays her, honestly. Like this was one of those performances where you're just like, shit. Like this is why Lexi Hull is such a tough.
The challenge facing the Fever is financial. Maintaining both Hull and Sophie Cunningham will require difficult decisions. Before the game, discussion on platforms like the Dunker Spot podcast addressed whether Hull could effectively guard Buchers. Skeptical silence followed the suggestion, spawning viral social media reactions suggesting Hull had no chance. The actual result completely contradicted those doubts. Hull didn't just contain Buchers, she made the star guard uncomfortable throughout the contest. This wasn't necessarily an all-time defensive masterclass, but it represented the ultimate example of making an opponent miserable within a 3-on-3 setting.
Is such a tough player to almost evaluate. Because at the end of the day, it's she's somebody that is just really, really, really good at basketball. And the little things that Lexi Hull does is like, you just can't replace that. And that's the annoying thing is that it's going to be scary. It's going to be tough.
Buchers will likely have nightmares about turning around and finding Hull lurking. Whenever Hull sat, Buchers immediately returned to form, attacking effectively and controlling the offense against Sutton. Buchers didn't have a bad game overall. Early in the second half especially, the contrast became apparent. While Gray's offensive explosion deserves credit as the primary reason for Rose's victory, offense typically matters more than defense. Hull's impact cannot be dismissed. Her defensive disruption, forced turnovers, and timely plays proved crucial.
Fine. So with that being said, they have come up with some type of agreement. Now, I just want to look up something real quick before we dive a little deeper in this, because I need more clarity on this agreement, man. So I'm going to go to Google and look and see exactly what this means. So a moratorium is a temporary authorized suspension of an activity or legal obligation like halting debt payments, construction, or certain laws to provide a pause for review, reconstruction, or to address an urgent issue. The common types in
the turnovers Hull generated weren't just empty possessions, they created immediate transition opportunities. One sequence perfectly illustrated her impact. Rose missed a shot, Hull grabbed the offensive rebound, kicked it to Stevens for a three-pointer. On the subsequent inbound, Hull stole the ball at the far end. After another miss, as Buchers reached for the loose ball, Hull swooped in for another
pause for review, reconstruction, or to address an urgent issue. The common types, including financial debt relief, building, development, and legal government, capital, fishing, suspension, offering temporary relief, but potentially increasing debt as interest. So, from my understanding, based off this little Motrum thing, hopefully I'm saying that right, they have decided to do this is not giving us a 2026 season. I do want to be clear there. I believe they reached an agreement to base this just a proper word.
Hull operates as a defensive playmaker rather than just a stopper. No guard in the WNBA creates more defensive plays through blocks, steals, and disruptions. While the Fever still need a pure lockdown defender, Hull's playmaking value is unmatched. Nobody replicates what she brings. Imagining Jose Alvarado's defensive intensity at 6'8" provides a rough NBA comparison for understanding Hull's impact. Her relentless style, diving for loose balls, constant hustling sometimes results in games where things don't work out.
I do want to be clear there. I believe they reached an agreement to base this just a proper word to continue negotiations. If I'm reading this correctly. So as of right now, it's still basically they still don't have a WNBA CBA agreement. Now, Alexa Philippou retweeted this as well. This is a very interesting story, man. We have been dealing with this for the last 24 months, I'm gonna say.
In those contests, her offensive limitations become problematic. However, on a game-by-game basis, particularly in playoff scenarios, her value skyrockets beyond what season-long metrics might suggest. Hull's individual game impact likely exceeds her cumulative season value. Playoff importance amplifies her contributions even further. She's extraordinarily difficult to replace, perhaps impossible to duplicate. This contest marked the first defeat for the Breeze.
For the last 24 months, I'm gonna say. And I don't know, man. A lot of people got in the comment section of her post and now Alexa Philippou, and they're talking about it. Ramona stated, didn't make sense for teams to be offering qualifying offers, core destination, or courting free agents until there was a new CBA agreement. So I'm wondering if the players is doing this to stop free agency. That's what this tweet is saying. You know, somebody else said this is actually bad news for fans and coaches.
While Gray's scoring explosion was undeniably spectacular, Hull's defensive performance approached similar importance in determining the outcome. Both contributions proved essential to Rose's victory. The WNBA and its players' union have reached a new arrangement following unsuccessful collective bargaining agreement negotiations. ESPN senior writer Ramona Shelburne reported that both parties agreed to implement a moratorium on league business operations after failing to finalize either a complete CBA or extension by the January 9th deadline. Understanding the moratorium concept proves essential to comprehending current circumstances. A moratorium represents a temporary authorized suspension of specific activities or legal obligations, such as halting debt payments, construction projects, or certain legal processes.
Tweet is saying, you know, somebody else said this is actually bad news for fans and coaches. Coaches will have to implement complex systems in a condensed offseason with very little time for players' development and chemistry building, which will hurt the product on the court. Now, sign replacement players. So that's what it's starting to look like, man. Maybe we could be getting a replacement situation similar to the 90 movie that we seen with Keanu Reeves, The Replacements, because that's exactly.
This pause allows time for review, reconstruction, or addressing urgent matters. Common applications include financial debt relief, building development holds, and legal government proceedings. Such suspensions offer temporary relief while potentially creating complications, including accumulating interest on debts during the pause period. Based on available information, this moratorium does not guarantee a 2026 season will proceed as scheduled. Instead, the agreement appears designed to provide proper framework for continuing negotiations between the league and Players Association. Currently, no finalized CBA exists, meaning fundamental operational agreements remain unresolved despite extended discussions spanning approximately 2 years.
90 movie that we seen with Keanu Reeves, the replacements, because that's exactly what it's finna look like, man. And somebody said the first 8 words of this tweet had me thinking we were going somewhere else. Right, man. Like it had got so bad, I straight had to Google what the word meant because I ain't gonna lie to you, I didn't even know what the damn word meant. Now, this is not a good look for the WNBA players or owners, man. Y'all still can't come up with an agreement. Y'all still can't come up with a system in place to get us a 2026 season. Because basically what y'all saying.
Multiple media figures have weighed in on the development. Shelburne clarified that proceeding with qualifying offers, core designations, or courting free agents made little sense without an established CBA framework. This raises questions about whether players strategically pursued this moratorium to halt free agency proceedings temporarily. Reactions from observers highlight concerns about potential negative impacts. One perspective suggests this situation presents bad news for fans and coaching staffs. Coaches may face implementing complex systems during a compressed off-season with minimal time for player development and team chemistry building, potentially diminishing on-court product quality.
In place to get us a 2026 season, because basically what y'all saying is that we still at the negotiation table. We still haven't made any progress in the current state of the whole negotiation situation. This is ugly. This is not a good look for the WNBA players. This is not a good look for the owners. And guess who suffered? The fans is suffering because we still don't know definitively if we even gonna have a 2026 season. Now y'all trying to use big words to try to say.
Some have suggested the possibility of replacement players entering the equation, drawing comparisons to past sports labor disputes. The terminology itself created confusion among many observers, with the technical nature of moratorium requiring clarification for broader audiences. This complexity adds another layer of frustration for stakeholders seeking straightforward information about league status. Annie Costabile provided additional context, explaining that the WNBA and Players Association agreed to freeze free agency specifically. This means qualifying offers, core designations, and contract signings will remain paused. The Front Office Sports Report confirmed that both sides accepted a moratorium freezing free agency as CBA negotiations continue.
We're going to have a 2026 season. Now y'all trying to use big words to try to say that, you know, maybe we is going to have a 2026 season. We just got to wait and see. And me personally, it's not a good look, man, because at the end of the day, fans and players need clarity. And it seemed like don't none of y'all know what the hell y'all doing. And we just sitting here now. Now we're just sitting here day in and day out. Y'all keep, once again, donkey in a carrot, bruh. This looking very donkey in a carrot-ish